Get ready for the show, it's about to begin. Pro fan talk when we dive right in. Sports talk, hot takes, ain't nothing we lack. We the real fans, nothing holding us back. Mic check, 1, 2, y'all know the drill. We bringing the energy, we keep it real. Touchdowns on liquid air, on the slam dunks on the court. Every sport, every game, we holding down the fort. We breaking down the plays, dissecting the stats. Pro fan talk, we keeping it fat. Debating with passion, no filter, no doubt. We the voice of the fans, we scream and we shout.
What's going on, folks? Back at Pro Fan Talk. I just thought I'd jump on. I wanted to do a video real quick, but I was like, you know what? I'm going live. Watching the end of this Cleveland game, and like the first thing I know, like coming out in the second half, the last preseason game, and I knew this was going to happen. It happened last night with the Eagles and the Jets. So you got the second half. So basically, you're at the last preseason game. So literally what that means is you got everybody left. Literally is what that means. Everybody left, everybody else. You're trying to get everybody in so everybody can get some tape. Everybody can get some film. Because there's a lot of people playing right now that's probably going to get cut. That's the reality of it. The problem with that is that Shedeur is playing on an offensive line where most of those guys are probably going to get cut. So I saw the play where he tried to check it down real quick, and the defensive tackle, I don't know if defensive tackle linebacker, but somebody came through and almost took his knees out. Not take his knees out, but it was a low tackle, so he couldn't bring his feet with the throw, and it should have been a 6 to 7 yard pass, and it sailed right over the dude's head because he couldn't get his legs with him. So there's different things like that. No time to throw. Already scrambling, and when you scramble, you tend to revert back to the things that you did in college, which is exactly what Shador is doing. He does that spin around, tries to run backwards, and you run out of ground instead of just throwing it away. You're trying to make something happen because this is almost like a last-ditch effort. So you're trying to make the most of every opportunity you get, but this is what happens. And Shedeur Sanders is 2 for 4 for 7 yards, so he hadn't even really had the opportunity to throw. He's taken a sack. He fumbled once, but he hasn't really had time even to throw the ball. But that's what you get when you were a low draft pick. That's when you get when you fighting for a spot. You see me rubbernecking because my TV is up here, but that's what happens when you fighting for a spot and the guys in front of you are not very good. And there's nothing that you can do about it. Literally, there's nothing you can do about it. So he's back on the field. I believe this is his third series, but the offensive line is hot trash right now. It's hot garbage. So, a lot of people are going to say that, man, but let me be honest with you. This is the game. This is what I try to get people to understand, especially fans. And I say this, and again, this is where I pull I used to be a pro player card, because I've been there. And even as a running back or at a skill position, you trying to make the best out of your situation, but the guys in front of you can't block. Or, your receivers drop the ball, or whatever the situation is. You want to be in the optimal situation. Unfortunately, when you a low draft pick, that's not going to happen. It's just not. So basically, you got Shador trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. And that's the game. That's the game. You have to play the game, and the game ain't fair. And I'm talking past just football. This is the politics and all of that type of stuff that you got to deal with. And in my opinion, this is why it matters so much when you're in camp and you don't get to run with the ones. This is stuff like this is where it pans out, is where it shows itself. Because now he's trying to do some things. He's trying to adjust coverages. He's trying to control which way the line slides and protect himself. Slide up in the pocket. Slide up in the pocket. So again, he just did it again and slid up in the pocket. Just took a sack instead of throwing the ball away. He's trying to go that nth degree to make something happen, and he's putting himself and the ball in harm's way. So yeah, you play to win the game, but you gotta, I don't know, you want to put your best foot forward, and you want to have some ballers on that line for you. And the Cleveland Browns third and fourth string offensive linemen are hot garbage. Just second and 16 now. He just took another sack. So again, he trying to make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and it ain't going good for him right now. All right, he just completed one pass for about 7 yards, maybe. And now you got people on the field like getting chippy and talking shit and all of that type of stuff, because and this is the other part of it, you got people doing extra because they know they're about to get cut. So they like, I don't care. Let me try to get this hit in. Let me try to snack, get this ball out of there. All of that type of stuff. So people's going extra, taking shots, all of that type of stuff. So the noise, the talk is coming out. So it's 3rd and 10. 6.5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. It's 3rd and 10. He's dropping back, steps up in the pocket. He takes off. Wow. Gets away from 2 tackles, gets his feet, throws the ball, hits the guy in the hands, and he drops it. That's exactly what I mean. He backs up, steps up in the pocket. The tackle comes off. He breaks that tackle. Another guy gets him. He breaks that tackle. He gets his feet. He finds the guy, hits him in the numbers, and the guy drops the ball. And he's out of there. So it's not going to be, so you're looking at, you 3 for 6 for 14 yards for the game. You know what I'm saying? And it's because here's what the conversation is going to be tomorrow. Let me finish my coffee. Here's what the conversation is going to be tomorrow. The conversation, or at least Monday, by the way, when they cut day, because what it's going to be is, well, Shedeur ain't had nobody blocking for him, and he playing with 3s and 4s, and you're right, but that can't be an excuse. And the politics of it all is that Dylan Gabriel, whether you like it or not, his leash is a hell of a lot longer than Shedeur's is. Do I think Shedeur is better than Dylan Gabriel? I do, because I watched Shedeur all year behind a trash offensive line, still throw the ball on time and on target. So listen, your boy from Hunter, Travis Hunter, who wins the Heisman, somebody was throwing him the ball. Wasn't nobody just chucking the ball up in the air and he was just running underneath it. Shedeur Sanders was throwing the ball on time and on target, and he was getting popped in the mouth every game because his offensive line was garbage. But when you get to the NFL, they don't care. They don't care. It is, you got to make the most of what you got. They don't care. Could I see Shedeur getting cut because of this game? Absolutely. Happens every year. Every year on every team. So Dylan Gabriel had a good series, had a good game, had a good 2-minute drive, took him down the field, scored, delivered the ball. He didn't throw the ball deep downfield. He just dinked and dunked his way down there, but he did what he had to do. But you know what? He also had time to do it. So ain't nothing you can do about that. Ain't nothing you can do about that. So, yeah, the Browns, I feel bad for my Browns. I pull for my Ohio teams. I'm from Cincinnati, so I'll be who they till I die. I'm always a Bengals fan. I bleed green for the Eagles because I played for the Eagles, but I was born in the jungle. Icky Woods and all of them. Barry Larkin, Ken Griffey Jr. I played against Ken Griffey Jr. in high school when I played baseball. I knew Ken personally. So I'll ride or die for all my Ohio teams. Ohio State, Central State, Miami of Ohio, Youngstown State, all of them teams, man. So I want to see them do the best. But like right now, Cleveland, they're gonna be in the same boat. They're gonna be in the same boat because Joey Flacco is playing good ball. But do I see Joey Flacco making it through an entire NFL season at 40 years old? I don't know. I don't know if Joey Flacco can do what Tom Brady did at 42 or whatever it was. Tom Brady was a freak. Do I see Joey Flacco as a freak? Absolutely not. And eventually, he gonna get caught. He gonna get caught slipping. He gonna run out of the pocket. One of them defensive ends or one of them linebackers gonna slip through, and somebody gonna miss a block and gonna clock him. So, but I mean, and even having said all of that, Joey Flacco is the best quarterback right now for the Browns. It ain't Kenny Pickett. It's Joey Flacco. And I saw that for myself when I was at Eagles practice when they did the joint practice with the Browns. I saw Joe Flacco for myself. And I was like, you know what? He looks the part. He looks the part. Dylan Gabriel looked just okay. Joey Flacco looked the part, though. Looked like he knew where to go with the ball, knew what he was doing, controlled the offense, all of that, everything that comes with that. So, Browns defense is up and they can't stop the run right now. Oh, God, they're getting ran over. Everybody on the field right now is most likely getting cut for the Browns defense, all of them. Everybody on that field is most likely going to get cut. So that's what you got to deal with, man. That's the politics. That's the shitty part of playing in the NFL. I would have liked to see Shedeur go somewhere in the third or fourth round, whatever, so he can get a legitimate shot. And getting a legitimate shot, and what people have figured out now, because you see how he was treated being a fifth round draft pick. What that means is you get your opportunity to play with the first team or at least the second team. You at least get that opportunity to see what it's like to have a legit 4 to 5 seconds in the pocket because you got a good offensive line protecting you and you can go through your progressions. You ain't got to bail out and all of that type of stuff. And he never had that. That's, to me, that's why what he did against Carolina resonated so much. Because he didn't get to play with the ones and all that kind of stuff. But that's the game. That's the politics that you got to do. That you got to deal with. So, it is what it is. Who's this? Edmonds? Is that the Edmonds that used to play for Pittsburgh? That we burned when he was, when Philadelphia just crushed the Steelers? Is that same Edmonds? Adam. That's exactly what I was talking about, bro. That is exactly what I was talking about. That type of stuff matters. Because you got to look at it from the personnel standpoint. If you a quarterback, you know what the play is, you know where you're trying to go with the ball, and you also know who your personnel is. So if your X receiver is trash, but your wide receiver is pretty damn good, you might not make it to your second progression. You might not even get to that level. You might have to get rid of the ball first. And just like I said, he hit the dude in the numbers and he dropped the ball. So different things like that, man. So, I mean, technically, it's not even technically. Shador thrown 6 passes. 6. What are you going to do? Dylan Gabriel threw 19 passes. Joe Flacco was 9 for 10 for 71 yards. And that's what I mean. Joe Flacco, boop, 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 all the way down the field for 6. Shador got to make chicken salad out of chicken shit. This is the ugly part of the NFL. This is the ugly part. Because there ain't no way. I mean, like I said, I watched, and I think Shador is the better quarterback, but he's not going to look like he's the better quarterback. Did he catch that? I can't tell if he caught that in bounds. I think he was already out of bounds. They're gonna have to slow that down. Oh no, they snapped the ball. They're gonna keep it going. Wow. So ain't no telling, man. The Browns gonna end up in trouble again because I don't see Joey Flacco's only gonna go so far. And Dylan Gabriel's only gonna go so far. Because Dylan Gabriel can look great until he gets game plan. And once you get game plan, they're gonna put it on your ass. All of this stuff that you see in preseason, the defenses you see in preseason, nah, nah. So, um, Adam, I know a lot of people are going to think that, but here's the weird part about it. The whole thing with the draft, in my opinion, I think that was a little bit of a conspiracy. I do not doubt what Eric Dickerson said about there was a thing going around because there is something to be said when you got a lot of rich people with money that don't like somebody. You know how rich folks can treat you anyways. And now you're talking about they don't because they don't like Dion or they don't like Shador. Uh, you already know how that works. You already know how that works. So and here's the thing that people get mixed up, and they get mixed up like this because this is how it's reported. Um, Chris, I'll get to you in a second about Atlanta. Um, here's how people get confused on how it gets reported. Anytime you talk about a conspiracy, people want to think you remember that scene in in the first Avengers movie when they launched at the end of the movie when they launched the nuke in New York City and Iron Man took it up into the portal. But you remember when Nick Fury was on that conference call and you saw all of them shady people in the holograms. You saw all them shady people. You couldn't see their faces. All you heard is their voices. That's what people think when you think of a conspiracy. You think of a bunch of shady people in a dark, dimly lit room plotting and planning. And it's not that simple. Or no, it's not that complicated. It's as simple as you got a couple of people that got on the Zoom call, a couple of owners that got on the Zoom call, something that most people will never be privy to. And those people said, I don't like this kid. I didn't like his dad. So guess what? We ain't drafting him. You shouldn't draft him. And guess what? And then if there was 5 people on that call, 1 or 2 people from that original call called 3 or 4 other people, and so on and so on and so on. And before you knew it, that sentiment goes around the league. Now you don't know how many people are going to really deal with it and how many people won't, but the word gets out. Then on top of that, what gets layered in is how many of the 32 NFL teams actually needed a quarterback. So then the numbers get sliced in half and your percentages drop drastically. The realistic places that Shedeur Sanders should have gone to was New York, New Orleans, and Cleveland. And I know there's a 4th team in there somewhere, but um, I don't know. Tennessee maybe, but there was 3 teams, and all of those teams passed on them. Now, is it possible that some of those teams were having those conversations? Like again, it wasn't a collective bunch of people with them old movies where everybody sitting at the poker table is one light shining in the middle of the table, and everybody's facial figures is silhouetted out, so you can tell everybody's at the table, but you can't tell who it is. All you see is people sticking their hands in the light, putting their cards down. It's not that complicated. So if they want to get the word out and do certain things, it is not hard. It is not hard. You saw what happened on draft day when the dude got his. I can't even say he got his. The owner got his thing hacked, his iPad hacked, and he didn't even get it hacked. His bratty ass kid came in and stole the numbers. That should let you know right there. That kid came in there, took something that didn't belong to him, did something he wasn't supposed to do, got caught, and because he wanted to play a prank on fucking social media, that cost his dad 110 grand. But the problem is what's 110 grand when you're talking about somebody that makes a couple mil a year? Now, don't get it twisted. 100 stacks is 100 stacks. That's a lot of money for some snot-nosed kid. But when you come from money like that, he'd been a coach for how long? Which means he done had a $1 million contract for how long? So you got 100 grand in the bank. So even though it looks bad on him, at the end of the day, that man ain't sweating nothing. That kid still got the Mercedes in the driveway. Stop playing. So they don't think about it that way. But for even that situation, for somebody to let that happen, to let your kid get a hold of them numbers where he prank calling people on draft day. Come on now. Come on now. So, like at this point, you know, who was this? Huntley. Huntley just almost threw a pick, holding on the defense. Boomer, like I don't even. You got the old school guard, and you know the type of attitudes that are not going to like Shedeur. You already know, because I can find you a whole bunch of white boys that said the same shit. That's when you got to look at the ists and the isms. But you know what, Boomer? Shout out to Boomer, because again, I'm from Cincinnati. He welcome to his opinion. He welcome to his opinion. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one. That's why people like him ain't in the league. They on radio because they can't coach, because some people can't adapt to the way these kids are today. And I understand that. So, it is what it is. Everybody gonna find a reason to hate him, and everybody gonna find a reason to love him. So everybody that is hating on Shador is gonna say, I told you he wasn't ready. And everybody that loves Shedeur is going to say, see, how's he supposed to do anything behind that offensive line, playing with them people? How is he supposed to make that work? So you're going to have it on both sides. Yeah, what else is he going to show? I saw that. I saw the last Tyler Huntley came in, and you already knew. Like, what else? At the end of the day, I agree. And even though, again, it's not fair, but I agree. It's like, at least let the kid get a couple of series with the ones. But it's not going to happen, man. That's not how it happens in camp. I was lucky. Let me say it like that. I was lucky. I caught a pass in a preseason game from Randall Cunningham and took it like 20 yards or something like that. But everybody doesn't get that. My first big play as a pro player was from the backup Casey Weldon from Florida State. I was the check down in Tokyo, in the American Bowl in Tokyo, and I took the ball. I ended up getting like a 40-yard gain on it. And now, because there wasn't nobody else, I was the check down. But I got the ball in my hands and did what I had to do. And that was at least enough where when we go back and watch that play on film, somebody was like, damn, Marcus, you got out. You got that ball in your hands and took off. Right? So again, when you're talking about making chicken salad out of chicken shit, when you are an undrafted free agent or a low draft pick, that's what they give you. They give you the scraps. They give you the scraps. It's not fair, but that's what it is. No, it ain't about playing with the ones. It's about but I guarantee you Dylan didn't play with the ones, but I guarantee you Dylan played with an offensive line that's going to play. Everybody on Dylan's offensive line probably is going to play or make the team, as opposed to some of the people that Shador is playing with. I got to look at the numbers. I know it's not all, but you understand what I'm saying. That's a big thing when you're a quarterback. I'm a running back. Ray Charles could be snapping the ball, and all he got to do is make sure he sticks the ball on the right side or the left side. And as long as I get the ball, I can make it work. When you're a quarterback, you got a whole nother set of circumstances that you got to worry about. So there's a little bit more to it than that. But you're right. Dylan didn't play with the ones, but I guarantee you, Dylan was playing with more offensive linemen who are going to play this year. So that's the way it is. So Pill Cosby, Hamilton Ticats, bro. Been there, done that. So I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying, and you 100% right. Get you up playing for the Grey Cup. Yep. When I got cut from Jacksonville, I ended up playing 3 seasons in the NFL Europe in the World League. We won a championship in '96, and then when I came back, '97, I was in Canada. I was in Hamilton Ticats. So, yes, it's possible. Absolutely, it's possible. But you can say that about everybody. It's just people saying the same thing about Gabriel. When I saw Gabriel for myself, I was like, yeah, he's okay. But you can't. You're not gonna get nothing from this because, and this is part of the reason. It's like if Dylan look, Tyler Huntley running for his life. You know what I'm saying? So put it this way. Let me say it like this: if Dylan Gabriel was playing behind this offensive line right now, that's on the field right now, Dylan Gabriel would be looking like trash. He'd be looking like trash. So it ain't fair, but that's the way it goes. That's the nature of the beast. That's how the sausage is made, and you can't do nothing about it. And I tell you what, it's going to be a whole lot of people bitching come Monday. Monday and Tuesday is going to be a whole lot of people bitching. Ain't no way the Browns are going to keep 4 quarterbacks. Ain't no way. And you still got Deshaun Watson lurking, paying him all of that money. They ain't keeping all them quarterbacks. Ain't no way. It ain't gonna happen. So it might be a blessing in disguise if Shedeur gets cut. Maybe somebody will pick him up. I don't know. They was talking about Philly trying to get him, and I'm like, but I think somebody will snatch him up because, in my opinion, ain't no way he should have dropped all the way to the 5th. No way. And people can say he had bad interviews and all of that type of stuff, and that's fair. That is a fair criticism. He probably said some things he shouldn't have said. He probably didn't the whole situation with the Giants and Brian Daboll. He probably came off wrong. All of that type of stuff. That is fair criticism. You get what you get. You got to put your best foot forward and all that. It's a job interview. It's a job interview. And if you don't go into that job interview with your suit and tie, acting like you know, they will kick your ass right out the door because they don't need you. So that's a lesson learned. But he gambled. Same thing with Prime. The biggest mistake they made was telling folks what they wasn't going to do. What we're not going to do is, we're not going to play for this team. And I think the biggest mistake he made is trying to tell teams, don't draft me if you don't. Man, don't let people make their own decision. You ain't got to put it out there like that. They know. They know. But having said that, you can go back and you can look at some conceited, too high on themselves, sniffing their own self. There is plenty of examples of quarterbacks that did the same shit, and then they still got drafted, still got picked. So, it goes both ways. So it just sucks because I wanted to see the young fella play. He played well down in Colorado, and I wanted to see him do well. And it was half and half. That's why I wish that he would have been healthy in Philly, because you really would have got a sense of, all right, now we're gonna see what we're gonna see. But the third preseason game, everybody's playing for a spot. Everybody's playing for film. Ain't nothing you can do about it. So, absolutely. And I'm one of them that gave him shit. And let me be honest with you. That's why I didn't like Eli as a player. Because as somebody that went through that process, and Eli, and they did what he did when Eli said he didn't want to go to San Diego and all of that type of stuff. I was like, hold on. How come all of a sudden he can call his shot? When did this become okay? Because before Eli, the only person that anybody ever talked about that in that situation was John Elway. Because John Elway was like, if somebody draft me that I don't want to play for, I'm going to play baseball. I'm a baseball prospect. And he was drafted to play baseball. And he could have cashed that in if he really wanted to. And then things changed. So as far as I know, John Elway is the only one to pull that card and get away with it successfully. Him and Eli. But when you look at the Mannings as part of the NFL royal family, as some people like to say, I remember that very vividly. I was like, hold on, how the hell how come he can do that and can't nobody else do that? Because let me be honest with you, he wasn't that good. He wasn't good enough to do that, to be able to call a shot like that, not in my opinion. And I will still argue anybody. Yeah, he got the one MVP he got for the Super Bowl he shouldn't have got. The other one, David Tyree, made the helmet catch. But guess what? When you look at his stats and it says Super Bowl victory, it don't say in parentheses because of David Tyree's catch. So you got to take the good with the bad. Ooh, bruh. That would not surprise me in the least. In the least. That would not surprise me at all. Jerry Jones would do some shit like that just to stamp down some of the stink of this Micah Parsons situation. I could see that happening. Chin Music, absolutely. Phillip Rivers was cocky as hell. Yes, he was. Tim, it sure did look like it, didn't it? It sure, because I noticed that. I didn't see Dylan Gabriel under center. You know Joe Flacco's not going to be under center, so it is what it is with Joe. Take Joe off the table. You know, we knew Joe was going to be the starter. I didn't think for a minute that Kenny Pickett was going to outplay Joe Flacco. I did not. And Kenny Pickett ain't even been on the damn field yet. So, but my conspiracy theory is that they're going through all of this. They're going to end up in the same situation next year, and they're going to end up drafting Arch Manning. Because I know Arch Manning said he's staying at Texas, but I don't believe that. I'll believe it when I see it. If Arch Manning plays for Texas and he lights it up, he probably coming out. Tyler Huntley just threw the exact same ball that Shedeur did. He scrambled, got out. Oh, no. My bad. They showing replays. 3 for 6. 3 for 6. So, and that's why I tell people, look, like you gotta look at the offensive line. Their offensive line was hot garbage. Hot garbage. And it cost them. So, amen. Now, Tim, but check this out, though. Check this out. Haslam, and this is where the Arch Manning thing comes into play. Haslam, the owner of the Browns, what school you think he went to? What college did he grad from? He's a Tennessee alum. And what family is he close with? He's close with Archie Manning and the Manning family. That's why I think they're going through all of this rigmarole. And Joey Flacco, if he makes it through the year, if they're so high on Joey Flacco, why didn't they keep him last year? They spent all that money on Deshaun Watson, and he did next to nothing. He did next to nothing. Deshaun Watson hasn't been the same player since he got hit with all these allegations. He's not, his mental has not been there. I'm sure he still got the physical skills, but his mental, he looks different. He looks different. So, but Haslam was dumb enough to pay him that big ass contract. So you know what? Deshaun Watson is laughing all the way to the bank. All the way to the bank. And them checks have cleared. And they still got to deal with it. And they feeling the effects of it. They are feeling the effects of it. So I feel bad for Shedeur. I want to see him play. I think he's good enough to play at the NFL level if somebody gives him a chance. Because, everything that they say he can't do, I could go down and name you 10, 12 starters in the NFL right now who got the same issues. It's all about when you get there and you can get comfortable with what you're doing, you will play better. When you playing behind number one offensive lineman and you playing with number one wide receivers, you tend to play better. And then everybody says that same thing when the game begins to slow down for you. You got to get to that point. You got to get to that point. Look at what Jackson Dart did the other day. Jackson Dart, I'm not thinking that Jackson Dart is just going to come in and light it up because he ain't played against no defense yet. So let's see what you do then. Let's see what you do then. Every team is one play away from their quarterback getting knocked the hell out. Us included. Philadelphia included. Shedeur Sanders fans ain't going to boycott the NFL. They're just going to be mad. And I'm like, hey, if you're mad, be mad by yourself. This is the game that we play. This is how it goes, like it or not. Like it or not. I'm a former Eagle, so I rock with the Eagles, and all of this shit that's been going on with Jalen Hurts for the last 3 seasons. That's just the way that it goes. You're not gonna please everybody. Period. It is what it is. So if the Shador fans boycott, you know who that's gonna hurt? Cleveland. It's gonna hurt them. It ain't gonna hurt nobody else because ain't nobody else worried about Cleveland. Cleveland has a very interesting situation because right now Cleveland is like damn Indiana. I do a lot of content for the WNBA, and I follow the Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark and that whole story. And before Caitlin Clark got to Indiana, didn't nobody give a damn about Indiana Fever. Keep it a buck. Now, every game was sold out when she was playing. So the epicenter of the WNBA is Indiana. That's where all the attention is going. That's what Cleveland has got right now. Ain't nobody give a shit about Cleveland unless they wanted to pile on Deshaun Watson or pile on Haslam for giving Deshaun Watson that money. There wasn't nobody caring about Cleveland. Myles Garrett, all of that talk. And when the money came, he signed. I want to win and this talk, all of that talk. But when them zeros got on the other side of that comma, it was all good. So it's all just posturing. And the fans, if the fans want to boycott, let them boycott. Because it ain't going to do a dent in the NFL's bottom line. The only thing it'll hurt is Cleveland. Cleveland's got a unique situation because by Shedeur Sanders being a member of the Cleveland Browns, people really don't understand how much money he is bringing to the organization, bringing to the city. It's people going to Cleveland so they can see Shedeur. I went to Eagles camp. I could have gone to Eagles camp at any time. I'm alumni. All I got to do is make a call and say, hey, I'd love to come to practice. But when did I go? When Cleveland was in town, because I wanted to see Shedeur for myself. There's a reason for that. Everybody got mad, going back to the WNBA for a minute. Everybody got mad because everybody was hating on Caitlin Clark and they just didn't think she deserved the hype and all of that type of stuff. And it's like, how can you tell somebody they don't deserve the hype? Having the hype has nothing to do with your talent. Some people have the recipe, some people don't. Just because, and you see this most of the time with quarterbacks, Just because you play the position of quarterback and they put the C on your chest doesn't mean you are the leader of the team. Some quarterbacks just ain't got it. You can be a pretty good passer, you can throw the ball a country mile, but some people, because of their personality, just don't have it. But we've got so used to people just putting the C on the chest because you play quarterback. Well, guess what? Look at what happened with what's his name? Zach Taylor? Is that his name? What's the dude from the Jets? Wilson, Zach Wilson. They just put the C on the chest, but he didn't earn it. He didn't earn it. And there's tons of people like that. Look at Johnny Manziel. Look at Ryan Leaf. Who else? Who else? Look at what's the dude that they drafted in Tennessee? Uh, Will Levis. You can go on and on with um, the greatest, in my opinion. And I'm going back a little way. So if you're young, you might not remember this. But the NFL quarterback with the greatest arm that I've ever seen, me personally, the greatest arm I've ever seen, and his name is not Dan Marino. It was Jeff George. If you go on YouTube and you look up Jeff George was about 6'6", and that joker had a rocket. I mean, he had a gun. But he was not a good leader whatsoever. He just wasn't. He couldn't get over the hump. And he had all the physicals and all of that type of stuff. He was tall. He had the gun. He played at Illinois. I mean, it just didn't work. It just didn't work. So even though they give somebody the accolades and put that C on their chest, it doesn't necessarily mean it's going to happen. 6'4", 218, played at Illinois, first round pick in 1990. First round pick in 1990. Played for the Colts, the Falcons, the Raiders, the Vikings, the Redskins, the Seahawks, the Bears, and the Raiders. Couldn't stick. Couldn't stick. And you see, everywhere he went, 3 years, 4 years. 4 years in Indianapolis, 3 years in Atlanta, 2 years in Oakland, 1 year in Minnesota, 2 years in Washington, 1 year in Seattle, 1 year with the Bears, and then 1 year in Oakland as practice squad. But he could never get there. He had 1 year where he led the league in passing. But he couldn't get over the hump. You don't, to have that type of talent and just bounce around teams, got to be something wrong. Got to be something wrong. So there's things that are missing. But that kind of goes back to my point of look at the leash that he had. Look at now, Tim, Warren Moon just didn't get a shot. Warren Moon was nasty in Winnipeg. And he was nasty. Was he play for Winnipeg? I forget the Canadian team he played for. But when he finally got to the Houston Oilers, like Warren Moon was nasty, but people would argue that he was past his prime, and he still balled out. He still balled out. So, it's a shame that it happens like this sometimes, but ain't nothing you can do about it. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the beast. This is a nasty game we play. It is not fair. Everybody does not get a fair shot. I say this every freaking year, especially around NFL cut day. There are a ton of players that should be on NFL teams. And there are a ton of players who are on NFL teams that shouldn't be. Every year you have that. Every year you're going to see, like, yo, why did they cut him? Every year you see somebody like Darius Cooper who balls out but gets caught in the system. How the hell you think we got Zach Bond? Edmonton Eskimos. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Edmonton Eskimos. Yep. Great, great example. Jay Cutler. Jameis Winston. He's another one. Ryan Leaf is the most famous one. All the talent in the world and just couldn't get it done. Couldn't get it done. So, and then you got somebody like, the obvious case now that everybody's talking about, at least they have been lately, is Johnny Manziel. When then you find, after all of his antics and all of the BS that he did, and then you come to find out, he was snorting and never watched film. And I'm like, how come nobody ever figured this out? How come nobody took the time to figure that out and call him out on this bullshit? Why is that? And how often do you think that happens? Because now you got to deal with the ego of the owners and the GMs, because don't nobody want to look like they was wrong. Don't nobody, and probably the writing was on the wall with Johnny Manziel. Just nobody wanted to admit it. Nobody wanted to admit it. You mean to tell me all of the time he started in Cleveland, did nobody figure out what the hell was going on? Nobody wanted to say anything? Y'all was just all just caught up in this. It happens all the time. It's not fair. That's the game that we play. That's the game that we play. And ain't nothing you can do about it, because it's going to happen again this year. It's going to happen again next year, and the year after that, and the year after that. It's not going anywhere. There's always going to be somebody that gets cheated out of an opportunity. So, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. That's up to him. Because we got to remember, Shedeur right now, every time Shedeur steps on the field, he's taking a pay cut. Shedeur making so much money with NIL, and that's a contract. See, he ain't got to go nowhere. He ain't got to go nowhere. So, what he tends to do with that, it all depends on where he ends up going. I don't think he should go in the CFL. I think he needs to buckle down and get on a team. Somebody will take him. So, morning coffee, yeah, I can't argue with that. And again, I keep saying the same thing. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of the beast right there. It ain't fair that Dylan Gabriel was getting all of the reps, all of the good reps in practice. Because if you're gonna make it even, make it even. So, so I don't know what he's gonna do. I don't think they're gonna keep 4 quarterbacks. I know that much, because you got Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and so even if they keep 3, what are they gonna do with Deshaun? That's the wild card, Deshaun Watson. What do they do with his contract? DC reports. I see a lot of scared people who won't say what I'm going to say. We already know. I cut the game off. I already knew they were setting. I mean, it is what it is, DC. Yeah, I mean, that's, again, man, that's part of it. That's part of it. Here's the situation, and to that point, because this is, you get caught in the purgatory of being an undrafted free agent or a late round pick. So your opportunities are trash. You gotta make something happen. Like, you gotta do something extraordinary. And the bad part about it is the Carolina game was the first preseason game, not the third preseason game. Because now you had the Carolina game, and now you done built up the hype. And it would have been a totally different situation if Shedeur had have played in Philadelphia, but he didn't. He didn't. So he had one good game. He had one bad game. Dylan Gabriel had one good game. He and was his other game, was that a, would you consider that a bad game? I don't know. He made some bad mistakes, but I didn't necessarily think it was a bad game. I think he just made two bad mistakes. And one of them was a pick six. So, but he played a hell of a lot better today. Great 2-minute drive, moved the ball. And again, even though it was a lot of dinking and dunking, you can't do that in the regular season. When you get some blitzes or delays coming through, you might mess around and get your clock clean. But right now, he did what he had to do, moved the ball down the field and scored. So this was a good game by him. So now the pendulum is going to swing the other way. So everybody that was hating on Shedeur, now you're going to have this, I told you so, come Monday morning. But Cleveland is in the pickle. Cleveland is in a pickle. Because I don't think and this is where now you bring the economics in. Dylan Gabriel is not going to fill up the stadium. Joe Flacco is not going to fill up the stadium. Shedeur would. So I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do. It's be interesting. Especially because this has nothing to do with somebody every year not making the squad. This was collusion. We all know. We're not talking about. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that it'll always go under that guys. It'll always go under. This happens every year because you can say that. Now, do I agree? You must have missed the conversation I had earlier. People make collusion and conspiracy too complicated. It's not a bunch of people sitting around a table in the dark with their faces dimmed. It's not that complicated. All it takes is a phone call, and it goes around. And in my opinion, when Brian Daboll said what he said, and his GM put that word out, because Brian Daboll didn't go out. Usually, when a situation like that happens, you keep that in house. But when you have an interview with a player, the first person you talk to is your GM, because your GM is the one that's got to draft them. So, in my opinion, the GM is the word. The GM is the one to put the word about Shador and the bad interview. And then once that information got out, everybody ran with it, because now that was the low-hanging fruit. So, DC, you're not wrong. You're not wrong. But I think when people talk about collusion and stuff like that, collusion happens all of the time. That's what people don't really understand. It happens all the time. Look at what happened. Look at what happened. And again, this is me with my green blood and my Philly in me. Look at what happened with all of the rigmarole. They started with the damn tush push, with the brotherly shove. It's unfair. It's unsafe. Everybody started talking about we got to get rid of it. And the only reason that everybody wanted to get rid of it was because they couldn't stop it. Did nobody want to stop that shit when Tom Brady was jumping over the top? Nobody cared then. Nobody cared about stopping it when in 2023, when our defense sucked and the bottom fell out going into the playoffs. Nobody cared about it then. But then you make a playoff run, a good push. Now it's a problem because nobody can stop it. On top of Saquon, on top of AJ Brown, on top of Devontae Smith. Now can't nobody stop it. Now it's a problem. You think all of them teams wasn't on the phone? That's collusion. Because there was a bunch of teams that got their ass whooped, and they didn't want us to win because of that play. So you know what they did? They got on the phone. They had their Zoom call. Well, however it happened. Again, people think collusion and conspiracy has to be this complicated network. You almost think about like you see them television shows where you go into private, the private investigator, and they got all of the pins and the strings connecting things. It's not that complicated. It's not. It's just a couple of people. Think about it like this: 32 people. If you go to school, if you own a job, is there 32 people in your office? Is there 32 people where you work? If you go to college, is there 32 people in your class? 32 people, 32 owners. All it takes is a couple of those owners to get on the call. Hey man, I don't like what they're doing with this tush push mess. We need to get rid of that. And it went all the way till they was voting on it with the competition committee. Jason Kelsey had to come in and give his pitch and all of that type of stuff. So when people get on the aspect of collusion and conspiracies and things of that nature, I, that makes it too complicated, because when you say that, when you say conspiracy, when you say colluded, the first thing you hear is media heads, because I heard it after the Eric Dickerson comments. I saw some, I forget what her name is. She was some lady in that covered the Browns. She was on some show, and she said, I there's no way I believe that owners got together and colluded to keep Shedeur out. And see, that's when they take it that that's when they start making it complicated. I just don't believe that there were owners that got together and this. It's not complicated. It's just a couple of phone calls. That's it. So when people try to describe it, when people in the media try to describe a conspiracy or collusion, they want to put all of these things together. And then what's the first thing that people say? Ain't no way they're doing all of that. I don't believe it. They're not doing all of that. And that's why they say it like that. But if you think about it like this: everybody got somebody in their family. Everybody. Everybody got somebody in their family. If you want information out, you'll tell that person. Am I lying? If you want information out, you know who to talk to. You know who's going to put it out there. Why do you think? And here's another part of it. Why do you think Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, why do you think the same people are always the ones breaking stories? Why do you think that is? They don't break stories. Teams have relationships with the media. So they will call Adam Schefter. Every team has a source. Now we're getting into that guy again, Mr. Sources. Who is Sources? Where in the world is Carmen Sandiego? Every team has somebody. Their job is to leak information to Adam Schefter, Ian Rappaport, and you insert name here. Breaking stories. They didn't break that story. A team told you that information. It's always sources close to the locker room, sources close to the situation, sources close to the GM, sources that were at the meetings. Let me tell you something. If anybody has ever played any organized sports, right? High school, college, professional. Let you find somebody in that locker room that's a snitch. Let that sink in for a minute. The locker room is a family dynamic. You spend more time, especially at the pro level, you spend more time in that locker room than you do at home. So that is a very strong family dynamic. And you got a snitch in your locker room? Nah, that's bad for business. And everybody knows that. If there was somebody in the locker room and the players found out that this person was leaking information, they'd beat the shit out of that dude. So teams have specific people on the outskirts, doing that, leaking information. That's what they do. And again, that's why Ian Rappaport. That's why Adam Schefter. That's why all these other ones on Twitter. That's why they get the stories. There's different ways that you can put information out and make it look like it didn't come from the stadium. There's way too many ways to do this. There's way too many ways to do this. There's way the social media and dummy accounts and all of this type of stuff. You think it's hard that somebody can get on a bullshit email account, email somebody that you talking about business that's going on the East Coast in Philadelphia, send the email to somebody in Seattle, Washington, and their job is to send that email, forward that email to somebody in Los Angeles. Now all of a sudden, somebody on the left coast got a story about what's going on in Philadelphia. How did they figure that out a million miles away on the other side of the country? Somebody feed them the information. So, and I'm saying all this to say, don't let the word collusion, don't let the word conspiracy befuddle you. Because when you hear those words, people in the media, on ESPN, Colin Kaepernick, all of them. So, DC Reports, I appreciate you, bro. I appreciate you. All of those people want to tell you how complicated it is. It is not complicated. So, yeah, speaking on the condition of anonymity and all of that, even the story I did with Eric Dickerson, he says it. He literally says, and I heard from somebody that called the Browns. I'm not going to say who. He put that out there first. I'm not going to tell you who said it, but I'm just going to tell you it was said. What are you going to do with that information? Some people are going to believe it. Some people are going to call it bullshit. It is what it is. So, yeah, that's possible. That's possible. I don't know if you get put on the practice squad. Does he have to clear waivers to get put on the practice squad? Because I believe you can be poached off the practice squad. At least I thought you could. I could be wrong. Because I don't think, in my opinion, I don't if the Browns cut Shedeur, he will not clear waivers. I don't think he'll clear waivers. Somebody will pick him up. But the reason why you want to keep him, in my opinion, because the Browns, somebody out there probably likes Shador. So to me, that you could get trade capital for that. I could see if you try to trade Shador, you can get more than what you paid for him. You can get more than a fifth round pick. Some people think he's worth that much. He might be worth that much just for the people that he brings to the stadium, just for the money he's bringing. And everybody talking about the prime equity and all of that type of stuff. You can't have nothing like that if you're not bringing nothing to the stadium. So there's some truth to that. Let me see. You can protect 4 practice squad players, but they still can be picked up on another team, puts him on the 53 man. Yeah. The team has to keep him there at least 3 games, I think. So, yeah, I think there's some wiggle room. But again, you still got that Deshaun Watson thing. But at the end of the day, they need to cut and run from that. They done made the mistake. They done paid the money. Just cut your losses and let it go. Deshaun Watson is not going to play no more for the Browns. He's not doing anything. He ain't bringing you no wins. So I don't know. So yeah, Tiff, I want to see Sanders. I want to see Sanders play with a legitimate offensive line. That's what I want to see, and good skill positions. But I know that's not going to happen. Not anymore. The preseason's done. Preseason's over with. So you get what you get, like it or not. Mick, I it's possible. Do I think it's likely? No, but it's possible. Anything's possible, dude. Anything is possible. These teams and these owners do too much crazy shit to say no way. Just like I was telling you earlier, I think that this whole thing might be a long con, so Cleveland can get a chance to get in the Arch Manning sweepstakes. And we just assuming that Arch Manning can play. I ain't even seen the kid play yet. So, there's that. So we'll see. We'll see what they're gonna do. Um, you would think, because here's the funny part. If Shador Sanders was the size of Dylan Gabriel, he wouldn't have a chance in hell. Dylan Gabriel is 5'10", 5'11". He gonna get the Brock Purdy treatment. Even if Dylan Gabriel does get in and play relatively well, everybody's going to have a reason why he can't play because he's just not big enough. He doesn't have the arm strength. They're going to go down the list, all of that type of stuff. All Brock Purdy did was take you to the Super Bowl. I ain't got no problem with Brock Purdy. I'm a Brock Purdy fan because I know what it is to be from a small school and people doubt you. So I always had love for Brock Purdy. I was like, hey, bro, get in there. You done made your money. Just keep slinging that ball around. That's all you got to do. Keep doing what you've been doing. Um, they can move them down to practice squad. Another team can claim them, but they still under contract. Yes, if they get cut and they have to play waivers. Yeah, yeah. But here's the problem with that. If you keep 4 quarterbacks, that means you keep in how many receivers? See, that means if you keeping it here, that means you got to take it from somewhere else. They are not going to keep 4 quarterbacks. That would be, in my opinion, that would be stupid, business wise and coaching wise, because you would rather have that. Your third quarterback rarely plays. He's the emergency. And how many times do you need the emergency? So that means you're taking a spot from somewhere else. Do you need an extra D tackle? Do you need an extra linebacker? Do you need an extra DB? Do you need an extra safety? Do you need an extra wide receiver? Do you need an extra offensive lineman? Because offensive linemen go down quicker than anybody else. So by keeping 4 quarterbacks, you are leaving yourself at risk at other positions, and it will come into play when the injuries start happening. So it's a gamble either way. It's a gamble either way. And if you really want to think logically about it, why would you risk that on a player that probably won't see the field? Because you got to think about it like this. How many games do you let's take Pickett, Gabriel, Sanders, take them all off the field. Deshaun Watson too. Take everybody off the field but Joe Flacco and Kenny Pickett. And then you got to look at it like this. Do you see the Browns being in a situation where they have to play Dylan Gabriel or Shedeur Sanders? Do you really think that's going to happen? Because that means Joe Flacco is out. Injury could happen, absolutely. That means your backup's got to be out. Kenny Pickett's out. He's got a hamstring, so it's possible. He hasn't played any in preseason, so it's possible. Then you down to your third string. And what happens if the third string just sucks? Do you make a move? Because now the pressure is really on. Because now everybody in the stands is still going to be wearing them number 12 jerseys. But that's a lot that has to happen. That's a lot. Is it possible? Absolutely. Not likely, though. So, I mean, Tiffany, that's $1 million question. Because do organizations think like that? Probably some of them do. The one thing that people got to understand is that these GMs and these executives that run these teams, they want y'all to think that they are the smartest guys in the room, but they are not. Because you go down the list, you look at Johnny Manziel, you look at Ryan Leaf, you go down the list, you look at any player, any first round draft pick player, anybody, doesn't matter, and just cherry pick the ones that didn't work out for whatever reason. Let's say Zach Wilson for the Jets. Zach Wilson was their pick. They put the C on his chest. They trotted him out there at quarterback. Everybody was, drooling over his mom and his mom's friends, right? But this is what you got to think about. There was a group of people, a group of executives that get paid a lot of money, and they got together around the table, around the desk in the conference room, and they mutually decided that Zach Wilson was the best choice for their organization. That's how they think. That's what you got to think about. That's what you got to think about. They got together and collectively decided that Zach Wilson was the best decision for their organization. The New York Giants got together and decided Daniel Jones was more important than Saquon Barkley. They got together and made that decision. Now, apply that logic to every first round bust. Indianapolis, they got together in a room and decided that Daniel Jones was going to start in front of their first round draft pick quarterback, Anthony Richardson. But then you can go back a step further. Indianapolis collectively sat down and decided that Anthony Richardson was the best quarterback to select for their organization when he hadn't even played more than a season. He hadn't started more than a season. So he hadn't started more than 15 games or whatever it was for the college season. But my point is, everybody said the same thing about Anthony Richardson, and I'll just continue to use him as the example. He's got a lot of talent. He's very raw. He's a specimen, but he just hasn't played a lot of football. And then what did he do? He showed up at the combine and was Mr. Everything. He jumped out the gym. He ran the 40 time. He threw the ball a country mile. He did all of the stuff, and he checked off all the boxes. And he fooled them because he had all of them skills, just like I was talking about Jeff George. He had all of them skills except the one that mattered the most. He's not a good quarterback. You spent all of that money, and he tapped out. I'm tired, coach. I'm coming to the sideline. What? And he has never been able to come back from that. And he never will. Not with that organization. But they decided that he was the best option. And they swear up and down. They do their homework. They do their research. They did their scouting. They swear up and down. They do all of that stuff. And how come everybody else saw it, but you couldn't see it? How come everybody else saw the truth, but you couldn't see it? Look at what they did in the Super Bowl last year. How come everybody saw the truth about the Eagles defense, but folks still was picking like, well, I just can't pick against Patrick Mahomes. Patrick Mahomes don't block. He can't block the defensive line. That's not a job. You saw how Caliendo played. You saw how Joe Tooney was played when they moved him on the wrong side. You saw that coming, and you saw how Jalen Carter was playing and Nolan Smith was playing and everybody on the Eagles off defensive line. You saw how they played last year, and y'all still made that decision. It's the same thing. The people that claim they are the smartest guys in the room aren't. Now hold on, Tiff. That's my man. That's my homeboy. Joe Burrow. He's from the crib. He's from Cincinnati. Um, and Joe Burrow is one of those few quarterbacks who is as advertised. The problem is nobody else is. The defense was trash. They didn't want to pay. They put all of their eggs in their offensive basket. That's exactly what they did. They paid Jamar Chase and the other dude. His name is escaping me right now. They paid both of them. And then Trey Hendrickson, who led the NFL in sacks last year, can't get signed. Ain't playing right now. Is holding out. He in the same situation like Micah Parsons, except he's in a worse situation because at least Micah Parsons knows that Jerry Jones knows how to spend money. Cincinnati has a history of bad money management. T. Higgins, thank you. Thank you, Bashanga. And I feel bad because that's my hometown. That's my hometown, man. I want to see the Bengals do well. When there was a possibility that the Bengals could have met the Eagles in the Super Bowl, I would have lost my mind. I watched 2 Super Bowl losses, both of them to Joe Montana. So it's and I'm saying all this to say that the people that everybody wants you to think are the smartest guys in the room are not. They just aren't. They are guessing like everybody else is. And that's why Howie Roseman gets the props that he gets. That's why Jeffrey Lurie gets the props as an owner he gets, because Jeffrey Lurie figured it out. Jeffrey Lurie figured out that I am paying Howie Roseman a whole lot of money to do this because he's better at it than I am. Howie Roseman figured out when he got hit with all the stuff during the Chip Kelly days. He figured out that, you know what? I got all of these people scouting, and maybe I should listen to them and start drafting guys from the SEC. Hands off. Let me let the guys do the work that I'm paying them to do. It's not complicated. It's ego. Owners want you to think that they got a handle on everything, and they don't. And the owners who know that they don't usually have the best success. Owners got to be good at hiring the right people. Jerry Jones wants to still be the ringmaster. He wants to be in the three. He wants to be in center ring, and he's getting exactly what he wants. He's getting everything but a winning record. Jerry Jones ain't been the same since he kicked Jimmy Johnson out, one of the greatest football coaches ever. And he said, nah, I can do it better. You should know. You should know. Cincinnati's defense is hot garbage. That's the problem. Trey Hendrickson, now they're not going to be hot garbage on fire without Trey Hendrickson. So they better come up with something. Or Joey Burrow is going to be in the same boat, trying to outscore everybody. So, nah, Tiff, I understand totally. I know I'm biased about Cincinnati. I already know. But I keep it a buck. I know what the situation is in Cincy. I know what it is. Yeah, Cody, this has been happening like the last week. That must mean I'm getting popular. So it's all good. I just ban them. They'll come back again, but it's all good. So, but yeah, man. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens with the Shedeur thing. Be very interesting to follow that, because either way you go, there's going to be people. People are not going to be happy the way it's going to end up. And Cleveland put themselves in here. Cleveland put themselves in this situation. So whatever you know, the NFL is not in a good place right now. They just aren't. With everything that just happened with the NFL Players Association and the president of the NFLPA getting fired because because he was doing business on the side with owners, which is not what you're supposed to be doing. Um, so they had to deal with that. Then every now and then the whole situation with John Gruden comes back. John Gruden is just starting to get his ducks in a row because I believe he won the lawsuit against the NFL. So there's always something bad with so the NFL isn't in the best place it can be right now. So they got issues. So, and whenever you have issues, it's you. So, but listen, man, I'm about to. We've been rocking for almost an hour and a half, dude. So this Shedeur thing, man, it ain't going away. And it'll be interesting how this part of it is resolved because this is only the first part of it. It's going to continue. Somebody going to get his kid a shot. Somebody's going to get his kid a shot. Unfortunately, it should have been New Orleans because Spencer Rattler is not going to get it done down in New Orleans. He's not. So I don't know. But it'll be fun, man. But listen, I'm gonna get up out of here. I appreciate y'all, man. DC Reports. Thank you for joining my squad. I appreciate you. No Name Sauce. Didn't give the Eagles no height, but claim they're a super team. Yeah, we've been through that, man. You know how that go. You know how that go. They just don't want to just say we whooped up on their ass, and it is what it is. We used to it by now. Tiffany, as usual. Cody K, as usual. I appreciate you. D, what'd you say? They will bury him on a depth chart. They don't want anyone else to have. Yeah. Talking about Shador, absolutely. But I appreciate you, D. Appreciate you, Tiff. Maui Dreams. Who will pick him up? Somebody will pick him up. We'll see. We'll see. A lot of things can happen, man. A lot of things can happen. So, but all right, man. I really, really, really appreciate you guys. This was a good conversation, man. Really good conversation. We're gonna keep this thing going. So this is not gonna go away because this will be hot and heavy on Monday, especially Monday. There will be some cuts made on Monday, but that whole day it's gonna all be about trying to get to the 53 by the end of the day. So I appreciate y'all. Make sure you like and subscribe, man. If you're not subscribed to this channel, please do. Yes, I'm a Philadelphia Eagle. I used to play for the Eagles. I was born and raised in Cincinnati, so I was born in the jungle. But in any case, I still try to keep it 100, man. Try to keep it 100. Keep the toxic on the bench. So I'm gonna see y'all later. If there's some more news that come out, holla at me. Swing through. Make sure I ain't going live on you. So I will talk to y'all later. Have a good one. Go Birds.